The streets were quiet, too quiet. Not the peaceful quiet of a sleeping town. This was the silence of fear. Doors remained shut, windows stayed closed. People whispered instead of speaking, and everywhere, from house to house, one dreadful word spread like a shadow: plague. The disease had arrived without warning, and now it was leaving death in its path. Families watched loved ones collapse within days. Entire households lived in terror of the next cough, the next fever, the next knock at the door. Even the strongest men felt helpless before an enemy they could not see. Fear settled over the community like a dark cloud. It hung in the air. It followed people into their homes. It stole sleep from their nights. And with every passing day, the death toll continued to rise. For most people, there was only one logical response: stay away, keep your distance, protect yourself. But during this crisis in South Africa, one man made a decision that shocked everyone around him. His name was John G. Lake. While others fled from the infected, he walked toward them. While others avoided the sick, he entered their homes. While others feared contamination, he knelt beside those who were dying. Day after day, Lake and a small group of workers served in the middle of the outbreak. They carried the sick. They comforted grieving families. They prayed with the suffering. And when death came, they helped remove the bodies of those who had passed away. Every day brought new dangers. Every day brought new opportunities to become infected. Yet Lake continued. Again, and again, and again. The people around him could not understand it. Why would anyone willingly place themselves in such danger? Why would anyone walk into places everyone else was trying to escape? Some looked at him with admiration. Others looked at him with concern. A few probably thought he was reckless. Eventually, people began asking questions. Are you not afraid? It was a reasonable question. After all, death seemed to be everywhere. Yet Lake's answer revealed something about the convictions that guided his life. He believed that God's power was greater than the plague. He believed that Christ was greater than disease. And he believed that fear should never have the final word. Those beliefs would soon be tested in a remarkable way. One day, according to Lake's own account, several doctors noticed something unusual. They had watched him work among infected victims repeatedly. They had seen him touch people others would not touch. They had seen him enter places others refused to enter. Yet despite all of this exposure, he showed no symptoms of the disease, no fever, no weakness, no signs of infection. The doctors were puzzled. How could this be? Eventually, they approached him. Why haven't you become infected? Lake's answer was simple. He told them that he believed the life of God within him was stronger than the power of sickness and disease. The doctors listened, but they remained skeptical. Faith was one thing, science was another. They wanted proof, not stories, not opinions, proof. So they proposed an experiment. What happened next would become one of the most famous stories associated with John G. Lake's ministry. The doctors collected plague germs from the body of a victim who had died from the disease. Under the microscope, the microorganisms could be seen, alive, active, dangerous. These were not harmless particles. These were organisms believed to carry a deadly infection. The doctors carefully prepared the sample. Then they turned their attention toward Lake, placed the sample onto his hand. The room grew silent. Everyone watched. What would happen? Would the germs continue living? Would they remain active? Or would something unexpected occur? Moments passed. Then the doctors examined the sample under the microscope. One doctor looked, then another, then another. What they saw astonished them. The germs appeared to die. The doctors checked again, and then again. What had moments before appeared active now seemed lifeless. For a moment, nobody spoke. The room was filled with silence, a different kind of silence. Not the silence of fear, the silence of astonishment. The doctors had witnessed something they could not easily explain. For Lake, the incident confirmed something he already believed. He did not see it as proof of his own greatness. He did not point to himself. Instead, he pointed to Christ. To him, it was evidence that Jesus was alive, evidence that God's power was real, evidence that heaven had not abandoned the suffering people of earth. But perhaps the most remarkable part of the story was what happened next. Lake did not use the experience as an excuse to retreat. He did not leave the outbreak. He did not decide he had done enough. The very next day, he was back among the sick, back among the suffering, back among grieving families, back in places where death seemed to be winning. Every day he returned. Every day he prayed. Every day he served. Every day he risked his own safety to bring hope to people who desperately needed it. Whether standing beside a deathbed, carrying a victim to safety, or praying over a broken family, Lake refused to allow fear to dictate his actions. The plague was powerful. No one denied that. Its victims were real. Its consequences were devastating. But Lake believed something else was real too. He believed God was greater. Years later, this story would travel far beyond South Africa. It would be repeated in sermons, shared in books, discussed in churches, and become one of the most famous accounts connected to John G. Lake's life. Supporters saw it as a remarkable testimony of divine protection. Others questioned the details and pointed out that the account relies primarily on Lake's own testimony and has not been independently verified by historical records. Yet regardless of how one views the story, one fact remains difficult to deny. When many people ran from danger, John G. Lake ran toward it. When fear gripped an entire community, he chose compassion. When suffering overwhelmed the land, he stepped into the middle of it. Not because he was fearless, but because he believed there was something greater than fear. And perhaps that is why this story continues to be remembered today. Because true faith is not merely revealed when everything is safe. It is revealed when a person walks into uncertainty and still trusts God. It is revealed when someone chooses courage over comfort, compassion over self-preservation, service over safety, and in the shadow of one of the deadliest outbreaks of his generation. John G. Lake did exactly that. Whether one sees the story as a miracle, a mystery, or a testimony of extraordinary conviction, its message remains the same. Hope is most powerful when darkness is at its deepest. Faith shines brightest when fear surrounds it. And sometimes the people who leave the greatest mark on history are the ones willing to walk toward the very places everyone else is running from. The story of John G. Lake and the plague is about more than a remarkable event. It is about what happens when faith confronts fear. Most people think courage means feeling no fear, but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is choosing to do what is right even when fear is present. When the plague swept through the community, fear told people to protect themselves. Fear told them to stay away. Fear told them to think only about their own survival. Yet Lake chose a different path. He chose compassion. He chose service. He chose faith. And that raises an important question for us today. We may never face a deadly plague. We may never stand in the middle of a crisis like the one Lake faced. But every one of us will face moments when fear tries to control our decisions. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of criticism, fear of stepping out in obedience to God. Fear often whispers, "Stay where it is comfortable." But faith says, "Trust God and move forward." The greatest lesson from this story is not found in a microscope. It is found in a man who refused to let fear have the final word. God is still looking for believers who will trust Him when circumstances seem impossible. Believers who will love when others hate, serve when others withdraw, pray when others doubt, and stand firm when others surrender to fear. Because throughout history, God has often done His greatest work through ordinary people who simply chose to trust Him. And perhaps today, the question is not whether we would have walked into a plague-stricken town with John G. Lake, Perhaps the real question is this: when fear stands in front of us, will we trust God enough to keep moving forward? Because faith is not proven when everything is easy. Faith is proven when we choose to obey God in the middle of the storm. Do not waste your life chasing applause. Do not build your soul around titles, popularity, or attention. Chase the presence of God. Pray when nobody notices you. Stay faithful when doors close in your face. Keep seeking God even when people laugh at your passion. Because sometimes, the very people the world overlooks are the ones heaven has chosen to change history. And if something in this story has stirred your spirit, if something deep within you has come alive, then don't ignore this moment. Rise with it, subscribe, and journey with us as we uncover the voices of history, the lives, the callings, the moments that shaped nations, like this video. So this message can travel farther than we ever could alone, reaching hearts that are waiting, just like yours. And in the comments, I want to hear from you. Who should we uncover next? Because the next story we tell won't just be history. It could be a spark, a revelation, a turning point for someone watching, maybe even for you.